Hello, welcome to today's webinar. It's 2 o'clock. My name is Chris Harrold. I'm the Yara product manager for the UK and Ireland, and I'm joined today by my colleague Antonis, Angeletakis, who is Yara's Director of Biostimulants. Today's webinar is titled Biostimulants as part of a complete crop nutrition programme. And its aim is to build on the one we held about 10 days ago, which was more of an introduction to biostimulants, what they are, and the different types. So today's webinar will look more in detail at Yara's own biostimulant products, how they've been developed, and we'll share with you our experiences of using those products here in the UK and Irish market. There are CPD points available again for today's webinar. The codes are there on the screen. We will put those back up at the end of the presentations in case you missed the codes, or if we have any people attending a little bit late. There will also be a question and answer opportunity. Please do pose your questions throughout the presentations, but we'll address those at the end of the presentations if we can. We have had a few questions posed already prior to the webinar starting, so we know we've got a few to answer later on. As some of you will remember, if you had joined us for our initial webinar, we did post a few poll questions for you at the start of that one, which was very interesting for us, and we'd like to do the same again today. So that's how we'll start off. There will be 3 questions that we'd like you to consider answering, and obviously we'll share the results we get back from that. So that's how we'll start off just before we get into the presentation. So we'll start with the first one, and that is, which type of biostimulants have you used before? So we'll just start on that. We'll give you sort of 30 seconds to answer that one, and then we'll move on to the second question. So the answer coming in. A few more seconds. Okay. And still a few more coming in, just a few more seconds, and then we'll what's the next one? Okay, so we'll move on to the next one. Do you expect to use more biostimulants in the future? Yes, no, or maybe. Interesting. Thank you. Right. Final one. Which kind of trials data are important to you when choosing a biostimulant? Local small plot replicated trials, local large plot trials like demonstrations, small plot replicated trials from other countries, or none of the above?
While we are waiting, Chris, for the people to answer on this one, it was interesting to see previously that there is, let's say, among the users of biostimulants, we could see that there were some categories that were more prominent than others, for example, the seaweed extract-based products. And we could see also that based on the feedback that we got, that almost all the answers that we got in the previous question, if they are going to use biostimulants in the future again, or maybe was all of them positive, so we didn't have any negative ones. So shows that also biostimulants are becoming, let's say, an integrated part of a crop program, and it's not just a luxury for some of the people to use, which is an interesting thing to see.
Yeah. Okay, thank you for taking part in the poll. I'll make sure that we share the results from that before the end of today. So what will we be covering today? Well, I'm going to give you an introduction to YaraAmplix. That is the brand name that Yara have given to their biostimulant products. So I'll go into a little bit of background about that. Then we'll move on to actually sharing with you some of the information about the products that are currently available in the UK and Irish markets that are part of that range, and the data that we've generated in a range of crops in those particular products. And then at the end, we'll just give you an introduction to the latest product within that range of biostimulants that Yara are bringing to the market over the course of this next year, which looks very interesting as well. So the YaraAmplix brand, as some of you will be very aware, Yara's product ranges have got specific sort of brand names, and the Yara Vita products, which you'll be familiar with, are principally their foliar applied products. And up until recently, the biostimulant products have also been branded in that same range. But clearly, biostimulants are increasingly becoming important in crop production systems around the world. And Yara wanted to differentiate the biostimulant products that we are developing away from just being part of the foliar nutrient range. So that was part of the reasoning behind giving them their own brand identity. So as I mentioned, the products till now have been part of the Yara Vita range, and you'll probably still see some of those products out in the marketplace, certainly for the rest of 2024. But certainly going forward, you'll start to see more of YaraAmplix branding coming through on products. Where's the Amplix name come from? Well, it's been inspired by the word amplify, and that amplification of the benefits provided to crops by the addition of biostimulants. We certainly see biostimulants as being additional to crop nutrition programs rather than specifically replacing anything else that farmers might already be doing. It's an additional part of that approach. So that's giving you a bit of an introduction to the Amplix branding, and as I say, you'll see more of that come through in the UK and Ireland over the course of this coming year and beyond. So the first product we're going to talk about today is BioTrack. BioTrack has been around in the UK for a couple of years now, and it's been developed for a range of different crops, not just for our climate. But I'd just like to ask Antonis to give us a little bit of information and background around BioTrack, what's in it, and how it can help improve crop productivity.
Thank you, Chris. And as we said when we did the previous webinar, is when we talk about biostimulants, what it matters is the formulation and the combination of the different bioactive components and other ingredients that we are going to put in the formulation in order to have a unique and effective product. And this is, of course, it is also applicable in the case of BioTrack, where we talk about a product that it contains various bioactive components from seaweed extract, but also we have added in the formulation specific organic acids, a specific vitamin, and some nutrients that have a complementary effect. And with the objective is, of course, we are always looking on the effects to have a product that will promote plant growth, will improve flowering and fruit set, but also will enhance tolerance to abiotic stress conditions. And especially we are talking about drought conditions or conditions of temperature stress. So in order for us to explain a little bit more about the product, we already mentioned that we are talking about a complex formulation. It's not just a nutrient or just a bioactive component present, but a combination of different ingredients in the best way. And We did this as a company because we wanted to focus on specific effects, and of course, we know based on the composition of the product that it can trigger specific metabolic processes within the plant. And the objective we mentioned before, that one of the effects that we can expect with BioTrack is to enhance tolerance to stress. And this is due to the presence of the bioactive components, such as the components from seaweed. We have there mannitol, we have fucoidans, we have fluorotanins, but also some additional bioactive components like the vitamin and also the organic acids, and the combination with some of the nutrients like potassium or some other components, micronutrients that can have, let's say, effect on various mechanisms that will enhance tolerance to stress. And when we talk about enhancing tolerance to stress, for example, I will just bring an example. We do know that mannitol as a component, as a sugar alcohol, can have an osmoprotectant activity. So this will be very helpful, and especially when we combine this with potassium that is present in the product, we can have, let's say, very good effects in cases of drought stress. Of course, other components in the formulation will help by detoxifying the reactive oxygen species that are being created under stress conditions, or we will have, let's say, modulation of the genes inside the plant in order to further enhance tolerance to stress. Another of the main functions of the product is the effect that it can have to support flowering and fruit set. And we all know that in cases of adverse external conditions during the period of flowering, this can cause, let's say, significant issues and reduce, of course, for example, reduce the formation of pollen or have a negative impact on fertilization. We do know from the literature that from a purely physiological point of view, in all these cases, the hormonal levels of the plant are not reached in order to achieve a proper flowering and fruit set, and this will have a negative impact when we talk about the production later on. Of course, based on the formulation of OptiTrack, we are in position to support flowering period and stimulate the physiological processes that will help the plant to have a proper flowering and a proper fruit set. And at the same time, we know that the components of seaweed can induce hormone-like activity, improving, of course, the plant hormonal perception and enhancing the effect of the hormones. Just an example also, because we are talking about physiological processes, we do know, again, an example, mannitol, that can complex also with boron and can improve the mobility of boron within the plant, which is a very critical component for flowering and fruit set. And of course, when we are looking improved plant growth and yield, the composition of the product and the effects that we can get due to the many different plant processes that BioTrack will stimulate, of course, will result in better plant growth and improved yield. So I think now it's time to go to the trial part and show also, besides what we say from a theoretical point of view, what are the, let's say, the expected effects of the product in terms of various crops relevant for UK.
Mm-hmm. Thanks, Anthony. So I'll just take you now, having had that overview of the product from Antonis about our experience with BioTrack specifically here in the UK and Ireland, but a bit of background development data as well that's been generated elsewhere around the world. So firstly, potatoes. BioTrack gets used on potatoes, and we've got some good data now that we've built up. So this trial, I know it's going back a few years now, was from development work done in Belgium at the University of Ghent. This was a replicated trial on potatoes, looking at a BioTrack applied at two different rates and at two different timings. And we saw from that work, and remember it's replicated work, this, two applications of BioTrack at a litre was giving us just short of a 5% yield increase in that particular trial set, and the two applications of 2 litres was giving us just over 10% yield increase. So that was sort of development data generated. How does that transfer over into the UK market? Well, I'll just share with you some data we generated back in 2022 on a crop of Maris Piper. So again, some replicated work looking at not just the BioTrack, but how the foliar nutrients in the Yara Vita range, in addition to an application of BioTrack, could have on ultimate yield results. So 2 timings, both during tuber bulking in this case, and you can see the different treatments in the chart. So all additional treatments did have a yield benefit. You've got total yield on the left of the screen and just the marketable yield on to the right. But you can see in the middle bar, the sort of light blue bar, the addition of the BioTrack over just MagPhos-K was giving us a slight increase in yield, but actually the BioTrack on its own over the untreated was also giving us a useful lift in yield. Mancozine particularly that year giving some very good results itself. But if we just put all of that into perspective, all the trials from 2022, there were 11 different sites. We can see actually that there was positive results in all of the unirrigated sites that year, but negative results where the crops had been irrigated. Now, if you take the little blue bar towards the right-hand side of the screen that I've circled, you can see overall across all of those sites, the yield benefit to using the BioTrack was 3.5%. So I think, again, this starts to build up our sort of understanding about where the biostimulants really bring some benefits in crops in the UK. Is this abiotic stress, and if they're irrigated, then they're probably under less stress than an unirrigated crop. Our replicated work in 2023, unfortunately, was not completed due to issues around the weather last year, but we did have some split field work done last year on 3 sites, one in Shropshire, one in Yorkshire, and one also up in Scotland. And that was simply looking at 2 applications of BioTrack at 3 litres a hectare each time, again during the bulking, tuber bulking period. All of these trials I'm showing you now, again, were unirrigated, but you can see that the BioTrack treatments were giving us, well, nearly a 10% yield increase in the case of this Challenger crop, which gave a good return on investment. The Melody crop in Yorkshire, very similar again, unirrigated, 2 applications of BioTrack, giving, again, nearly a 10% yield increase. And finally, crop of Marabelle in Scotland, a 3.5 tonne or nearly 3.5 tonne per hectare marketable yield increase. Again, 2 applications of BioTrack giving us a useful result there. The plan will be this year in 2024 to do another series of replicated work with BioTrack in potatoes, which will add to our data set. So that would be our sort of recommendation in potatoes. As I've mentioned right at the start, and Antonis has also mentioned it, we see biostimulants as being additional rather than replacing anything. And you saw that work where we'd shown that there was a benefit to using the MagPhos-K, but an extra benefit by adding the BioTrack to that. So 2 applications through the growing season. If you're growing a seed crop of potatoes, we would probably recommend starting that approach at tuber initiation. If you're growing a ware crop, then you may decide to save those applications till a bit later on during the bulking phase. So moving on to our experiences with BioTrack in sugar beet. Again, there was some development work here done in France, and then we've looked at it in split field work here in the UK as well. So during its development, again done by a research organisation, some replicated work in 2019, a 3 litre rate of BioTrack again applied twice at growth stage 16 to 18, and then again at growth stage 19. And in that work, there was just over a 5% yield increase from using BioTrack on sugar beet. Here in the UK in 2022, we did some work in a crop in Suffolk. This happened to be this particular field anyway, it happened to be very late drilled as the first crop had actually failed due to drought. And we applied the first application of BioTrack towards the end of June. But interestingly, 11 days after that application of BioTrack, the crop received a herbicide treatment. You can see the tank mix of herbicide there on the screen. And then we followed up with another application of BioTrack in early August. And the observations from the field were that where the BioTrack had been applied, the first application prior to the herbicide being applied, the plants were less affected. You can see in the pictures on the screen, the leaf on the left was from a plant that had had the BioTrack prior to the herbicide application. The leaf on the right clearly showing some differences from the effects of the herbicide. So again, another situation where we're perhaps seeing how a biostimulant can help a crop tolerate some of those abiotic stresses that we've talked about. And that site was yield dug by the local British Sugar area manager, and the first application of, or the single application of 3 litres of BioTrack gave a good uplift in yield, but where the second application was made as well, a significant increase in yield. Interestingly though, you'll notice in the middle of the bars, the chart, that there was no difference between treatments with regard to sugar content. So just to put that sort of into a sort of financial summary for the sugar beet work that we did that year, a single application was giving a very good return, with sugar beet valued at £40 to the tonne. But where we applied it twice, then we got a step up again. So that's work that we'll be looking at, hopefully repeating again this year. So if you were to look at our recommendation for using BioTrack in sugar beet, again, like I said in the slide I showed you for potatoes, we look at combining the BioTrack with a foliar nutrient application at the same time, in this case Brachytrel Pro. So 3 litres of BioTrack with 3 litres of Brachytrel Pro once you've got some good ground cover. A little bit of work to show you now in spring barley. This was done in Ireland in 2021, which we are looking to repeat again this year. And this was just a simple sort of build on from a standard foliar nutrient approach, where we'd gone with some manganese and some gramitrel, and where we added the BioTrack on top of that, we got about 1/3 of a tonne per hectare yield increase from the BioTrack. We got asked a few questions in the first webinar about biostimulant use in grassland. Well, I haven't got any UK generated data to show you today, but we are going to be looking at biostimulants in some grassland work here in the UK this year with NIAB. So hopefully we'll have that data to share with you later on this year. But I have got some data generated a number of years ago in Finland with BioTrack. We looked at it at 2 different rates, 1 litre per hectare and 3 litres to the hectare, at 2 application timings, one prior to the first cut and then another application between first and second cut. And if I just show you the results from that work, you can see here in the blue bars that first application really didn't make that much of a difference. Didn't matter if you put a higher rate of the BioTrack on, but where there was a difference was that second application, basically, where between the first and the second cut, there was a yield increase of just under 6% from the 2 applications of 1 litre and just over 12% from the 2 applications of 3 litres. So as I say, that is some data from out of the UK, but we're looking to try and generate some UK data in grassland this year. Moving on to maize, firstly looking at BioTrack in Ireland from 2023. We looked at it in a sort of combination of products, a bit like we've done in some of the other crops. So looking at Crop Boost, which is our sort of foliar recommendation in maize, which replaced Maize Boost, with and without BioTrack, and also BioTrack on its own, and then looking at Gramitrel as an alternative approach to the Crop Boost. And you can see from the results of that work done last year that actually applying the Crop Boost on its own, the second bar from the left, you can see gave a very useful increase in yield, but by adding BioTrack to that Crop Boost lifted it even further, and BioTrack on its own doing a good job as well. But you can see here where our sort of message is to combine the biostimulant with a foliar nutrient, because we get that sort of synergistic effect of both. So that's the sort of work we've done to date on BioTrack. As I've said, we're going to continue developing the product and the work and data that we're building on that. But that is available now if you're wanting to try that this year on some of those crops we've talked about. Just going to move on to the next product we'd like to talk to you about today, which is called BioNui. And I'll just hand back to Antonis if he could just take us a little bit through BioNui.
Thank you, Chris. Again, as we said before, for BioTrack, in the case of BioNui, we are talking about a product that combines various bioactive components from humic substances with specific micronutrients that we have seen that they can have a synergistic effect on the formulation and the efficacy of the product. And focusing again in the case of BioNui, we are talking about a product that we are focusing a lot on nutrient use efficiency. So what we have seen based on the trials that we have done with the product, that we can improve nutrient uptake, we can improve the rhizosphere efficiency in order to be able for the plant to absorb more nutrients, more water. And of course, this also will make the plants stronger and healthier under abiotic stress conditions. But just for us to go a little bit more into details about the way that the product is working. And of course, what we can mention is that we are talking about a product that can be used both as a foliar applied formulation, but also as a soil applied formulation, depending on the crop and depending, of course, of what is the objective of the effect that we would like to get. Going again to the main claims that we have for the product, we said before that the product can improve root growth. We do know from the literature, and this was something that we observed also during the product development stage, that the components in the product can have an effect on the enzymatic activity of the plant, either by inhibiting or stimulating specific enzymes. And what we have seen in the literature is that when we talk about, for example, the inhibition of the activity of the indoaldehydic acid oxidases, this means that we are allowing to the plant to preserve the levels of IAA that can be used in order to be used for the root growth. At the same time, we know that the lower weight, molecular weight humic substances that are present in the formulation will stimulate the enzymatic activity and will simulate the action of plant hormones by supporting a better root growth. In that factor, also zinc and manganese will play a significant role, because both of them are being involved in the production and activation of plant hormones like the auxins that are very important for the root growth. Of course, this will have an effect by having a better developed root system. This will also have an effect when we talk about nutrient uptake and water absorption. Of course, another of the main claims that we have seen when we are using the product, especially when we apply the product in soil application, is that the product can improve soil health related parameters. And more specifically, what we have observed also in our trials is that we can improve soil structure factors like improved porosity, improved water holding capacity, and of course improving cation exchange capacity of the soil. At the same time, we have seen that we can improve soil respiration, that is also linked with microbial activity in the soil. So having this kind of effects both at root level, as we saw before, but also at soil level, we can see that we are creating favorable conditions for the rhizosphere in order to improve rhizosphere efficiency, which means that this will result in better uptake of nutrients, better availability of the nutrients, and also improve the absorption of water for the plant, which is very critical components in order to be utilized by the plant to further support root growth and plant growth and productivity. And of course, talking a little bit more about the nutrient uptake, we do know that also the humic substances that are present in the formulation are negatively charged molecules, and they will function as a metal complexing and exchanging system that will further optimize and improve the use of the fertilizers in the soil. By having better availability of the nutrients, we are also giving the opportunity, giving the resources, the nutrient resources needed for the plant in order for the plant to be able to produce more and improve also the qualitative parameters of yield. And of course, as we mentioned before, when we are talking about improving root growth, and in the case of BioNew, we are talking about improving the fine and lateral roots. Of course, this also will further improve nutrient uptake and will have a beneficial result on the uptake of nutrients from the soil. I think that was the last slide in terms of the mode of action of the product, and now we can go back to the trial results.
Yeah, thank you, Antonis. So just to follow on from that overview of BioNew, just want to share with you some trials data generated from ProCam here in the UK. They've been looking at BioNew specifically within their programs, and they did a trial in 2023 looking at BioNew in maize. So this was a crop sown last May, and the treatments were applied to the middle of June last year. The original plan, as Antonis pointed out in his overview of the product, it could be applied to the soil as well as applied foliarly. In this case, again, due to weather constraints, the treatment that had been intended to be applied to the soil, sort of pre-emergence, if you like, unfortunately wasn't done. So we ended up with two similar post-emergence applications in this particular work. But I'll just share that with you now. So you can see here where the BioNew was applied at 4 litres, and then we have 2 treatments of 2 litres. The average of those 2 litre treatments was still better than the 4 litre rate. And sometimes we've seen this. The lower rates of the biostimulants sometimes produce a better result than a higher rate. So when we look at that put into sort of the financials over the cost of applying the BioNew, the yield increase was just over a tonne to the hectare, with the maize valued at £50 to a tonne. There was a useful increase in income and a reasonable return on investment over the cost of applying the BioNew. So if we sort of combine what we've just talked about with regard to BioNew and BioTrack as 2 different products that can be used in maize, again, our approach would be to combine the 2 with a foliar nutrient product. So you would use Crop Boost with BioTrack or Crop Boost with BioNew to give you that cumulative benefit of applying both materials. So that again would be work that we'd be looking to continue this year. But BioNew is available now, and it's there in the marketplace should you want to try it. So just moving on to our last product that we wanted to talk with you about today is a new product. This is one that's still sort of coming through development, if you like. It's not currently commercially available yet here in the UK, but we have got more trials going into the ground with it this time here to build our knowledge. And again, hopefully we'll have that data to share with you again later on this year. So again, if I could just call on Antonis to give us an overview about Flostrel and the benefits and where we see this particular product fitting into our marketplace.
Yeah, thank you, Chris. And as you mentioned, of course, the product is not at the moment available at commercial stage in UK. Of course, we are going to do some trial work, but this was a product that was launched by Yara last year. So we got, let's say, the green light from our R&D team, and the product is already, let's say, considered commercial at global level. And now we are in the process of, let's say, trialing the product in different markets in order to get also more local data that are relevant for the position. Of course, when we are talking about Flostrel, the objective of developing this product was to focus on broad-acre flowering crops, like, for example, oilseed rape, that is very important as a crop for UK. And there, because we have seen that there are specific nutrients that are needed in combination with the bioactive components coming from the seaweed that we have added in the formulation in order to be able to support flowering and pod retention. That is very important, and at the same time to improve crop quality and yield. And this is where we want to focus the product going on forwards. Of course, if we can move, if we can talk a little bit about the main features and benefits of the product, as we mentioned before, we are talking about again the Yara concept when we talk about development of biostimulants is how we can combine not only biostimulant components, but also having the knowledge on crop nutrition and the physiology of the plant, how we can combine nutrients with biostimulants to get the maximum out of the two. And this is what we are trying to do with this solution also. Of course, as we mentioned before, we are talking about a product based on seaweed extract, and the product contains also phosphorus and boron, very important elements for the flowering and fruit set and fruit retention period. And of course, the objective is to have a product that will enhance flowering, enhance yield and quality, focusing mainly on broad-acre crops, like the case of oilseed rape. And talking about oilseed rape, just to share some of the work that we have done here in UK, in our DTC center, in our glass house here in Pocklington. Just this is a demo, but for you to see and understand, visualize what we have seen also in our trials during the R&D development program, is that we have, as you can see, starting from the left part of the screen, we can see the control where we have reduced nutrition in terms of phosphorus level. We have low P level and no boron. And we can see when we apply Flostrel, we can see the difference in terms of plant development, the difference in terms of flowering, the difference in terms of the pod development. It's clearly how more advanced is the plant with Flostrel. But also when someone might say, okay, but you don't have any boron in the control. And that's why we had another treatment where we added the equivalent quantity of boron that there is in Flostrel by applying Bortrac. And we can clearly see again that even if we equalize the boron content in both treatments, again, we can see that the application of Flostrel gave us more and bigger pods compared to the boron application, to the Bortrac application, which again shows the importance of having a combination of biostimulant and foliar nutrients in the same formulation and in the same application. And here in these photos on the right side, again, you can see the whole plant and the development when we are comparing the control with Flostrel and when we are comparing again Bortrac with Flostrel, which again, we can clearly see the difference in terms of the number of pods and the size of pods compared to the boron application alone. So for me, in order to close this part, I want to reiterate once more that the important thing when we are talking about biostimulants is that we need to consider them as part of an integrated crop program and not as a standalone solution. So for us, the best way going forward is to combine the foliar nutrient, the Yara Vita products with the biostimulant solutions that we are offering, because we have observed that I would say 95, 97% of the cases, we are delivering better results than the standalone application of either the foliar nutrient or the biostimulant.
Thank you, Antonis. So just to sort of summarize what we've just discussed and shown you with the trials data of those particular products, I think, in potatoes, we've got some good data now. The development data was positive, and we've been able to sort of replicate that here in the UK market as well, and that work will continue to go on as well. But as we've highlighted, probably certain situations you are going to see a more pronounced effect from using them, and in this case in potatoes it was that difference between irrigated and unirrigated crops. In the sugar beet, again, adding that biotrack, we saw that work in the development work done in France gave us a 5% yield increase, but that split field work we did in Suffolk a couple of years ago showed that there was probably a benefit to using the biotrack to help alleviate some of the stress the crop was put under from an application of a herbicide. And I think the same could well be said for the situation in maize. Biotrack or Bionue probably helping overcome issues around drought or heat stress, but also maize can suffer from those herbicide applications post-emergence as well. So there's some useful information there, hopefully, that you'll have seen today. So that brings us to the end of our presentation today. Hopefully you found that of use, and it's built on what we discussed in the first biostimulant webinar the other week, from more of a Yara perspective and where we are in developing our range of biostimulant products, where we see them fitting and where we've seen positive results from 1 year to the next. And as I say, we won't just stop there, we will keep building on that. And with the Flostrel, the new product coming along, as I say, we've got some replicated work going on with trials contractors here in the UK this year, and that will add to our data set to share with you on another occasion. But thank you very much again, and thank you to Antonis for joining us today. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a nice day. Bye.
Bye.